Everybody, good morning. It is Friday. TGIF. TGIF. It is January 10th, 2025. Welcome to the morning show. Shout out to you guys. Make sure you hit that like, hit that thumbs up. And of course, if you're new and you like sports news, sports talk, make sure that you do subscribe, click that bell, turn on your notifications so you don't miss a stream or content. All right, we got a lot of stuff. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today. We got the NFC playoffs to basically dive back into and kind of break down. We also got some information about the Rams. Certain player may have gotten some trouble. We're also going to get into other, various topics that we have during the show. All some crazy stuff too that we need to talk about. Jason Whitlock has been setting things ablaze. Whether you like the guy or not, there's a lot of craziness going on that we got to get into when it comes to Cam Newton, Jason Whitlock going back and forth. It's wild stuff, but I'm excited to get into it with you guys. Make sure you hit that like, hit that thumbs up as we go ahead and get started here with the first story. Shout out to you, Purple. Good morning. Good morning. Ben, what up? Here we go. Browns, Jets, Jaguars announced as hosts for the 2025 London Games. Now, I'm not sure how excited we should be for this because I'm assuming we'll have Deshaun Watson and we'll have Aaron Rodgers. But hey, if you are a Jets fan and if you are a Browns fan, I guess the question for me is, are you willing to fly out to London to watch these two play? Let's get into it. The New York Jets, Cleveland Browns, and Jacksonville Jaguars will each serve as the home team for games in London season as part of the NFL's growing slate of international play, the league announced Friday. The Jets and Browns will play at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, while the Jaguars will host their game at the Wembley Stadium. The Browns and Jets both enter 2025 with unsettled quarterback situations. Cleveland is anticipating the return of Deshaun Watson after he suffered a season-ending Achilles tear in October. Though the team also expects to look to add its quarterback room via free agency or the draft, where the Browns have the number 2 overall pick. The Jets, meanwhile, face an uncertain future with the 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers, who said he would think about my future in the game after the team's season finale on Sunday. Yeah, we know it's been very bad for the Jets, right? And I think, unfortunately, even worse for the Browns, because I feel like the Browns were, almost in a good light as far as when Jameis came over and that, crash landed, unfortunately. And so I think these are two franchises that are not in a good light right now. What is it going to take? Well, personally, I think that Aaron Rodgers maybe should move on. And then, you just tear it all down and build it back up for the Jets. For the Browns, I'm not sure Deshaun Watson's the guy. I know you paid him a lot of money, so you got to stick with him. But I'm just not sure he's the guy. And unfortunately, I think the Browns fans next season are going to be just as disappointed. And, it's going to take some real changes there, too. So, unfortunately, I think the Jets and the Browns are in the same kind of situation. But we'll keep it going. New York played in London this season, falling to the Minnesota Vikings 23-17. This will mark the franchise's 5th international game and 4th in London. The Browns have played in London once, losing 33-16 in the Vikings. It's funny how that Vikings trend has went. The Jaguars will continue their annual visit to Wembley Stadium, where they have a deal with the NFL in which they will have full responsibility for the game and oversee all operations. The past 2 seasons, the Jaguars have played back-to-back games in London, one as a home team at Wembley and the other as a visiting team at Tottenham. Beginning the 2025 season, the NFL can schedule up to 8 international regular season games per year. The league previously announced that it will play a regular season game in Berlin for the first time in 2025 and one in Madrid. I'm actually excited for this, right? The expansion of the NFL. I think, at least the fun things. You want to travel, right? You want to go see some different places, go watch your favorite team play. I think that's a good thing. As we wrap it up, says opponents, game dates, and kickoff times will be announced when the 2025 schedule is released in the spring. We'll get to that. We'll get to the schedule and everything that, as far as how that goes. So, yeah, make sure you guys hit that like and that thumbs up. And, of course, subscribe. That way you don't miss out on that. Let me hop into the chat. Good morning, y'all. Good morning. Shout out to you, Big T. Big T in the building. Good to see you. Good to see you. Mr. Kojak, what up, yo? What's going on with you? Nathan says it's finally snowing in Atlanta. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. I know when Atlanta gets any kind of snow, though, they shut it down. Like if y'all get like 2-3 inches of snow, it's over. Like the whole Atlanta is shut down. Shout out to you, Ben. Says Winston did a solid job. Browns looked better with him at quarterback. I agree, but it kind of fizzled out, right? I'm not sure if it was a momentum thing. I'm not sure if it became too much for him. I just think, unfortunately, he tried going out there and being Superman too much instead of just playing team ball, right? I want to win. I want to be the one to do it. And I get it. Because, I think he felt like he had to put the team on his shoulders. Well, I don't think he had to do that. I think he just needed to play good ball, right? Go in there with his head held high like he did. And, focus and try to limit the turnovers. His biggest problem was the turnovers. And then he could never bounce back from it. So I think the problem with Jameis Winston was, his ability to overcome the issues in the game rather than, having talent, which we know that he does. Because there's still people down in New Orleans right now that want him to come back to the Saints. They want him to come back down there. So, I don't think it's really a talent issue. I think, Jameis just needs to work on himself mentally. And, hopefully he can get it together while he still has an opportunity in the NFL. So, Buy Stock says Bills 34, Denver 17. We gonna get into it. We gonna get into it. We'll get into some good information with Josh and how I think he needs to stay focused as well. Shout out to Mr. Kojak coming through with the $2 super chat this morning. Showing the love, says good morning, Purple. All right, let's go. Showing Purple some love this morning. Wrench Gang, the family holding it down. Welcome to the morning show, y'all, as we continue going here. Next story. We're going to get into these Rams. Los Angeles Rams, just when, your team's doing well, you're heading into the playoffs. You want everybody to stay focused. You want everybody to, keep things in gear. Well, Rams wide receiver DeMarcus Robinson has been charged with misdemeanor DUI. The Los Angeles Rams wide receiver DeMarcus Robinson has been charged with one count of misdemeanor DUI. The office of the Los Angeles County Attorney told TMZ Sports on Thursday. The charge comes after he was arrested for suspicion of DUI on November 25th, after the California Highway Patrol said officers observed him driving more than 100 miles per hour in a white Dodge sedan on US 101 northbound. Y'all love them Chargers, right? Love them Chargers. A new release at the time of the arrest said officers observed objective signs and symptoms of alcohol impairment. Robinson will be arraigned in late February, the city's attorney's office told TMZ. News of the charge comes days before Rams are scheduled to host the Minnesota Vikings in a wildcard playoff game Monday night. Isn't it funny how this stuff comes out like right before a game? Why? Let's do it after Monday. Let's do it after this game, right? It's weird to me. It's always released right before the game. When there's, some kind of player involved in something, or some kind of player, is heading into a big game, this kind of news comes out. And it's almost like, let's just nudge him a little bit, throw him off his game. Take him on the under. The Rams chose not to suspend Robinson after he was arrested. Shout out to you, Purple. Coming through with the $2 super chat. I appreciate you. Let's go. It says the Rams chose not to suspend Robinson after he was arrested in November, with coach Sean McVay saying that the team will let the legal process take place and let the league go through its disciplinary process as well. I think it was a bad decision he made. I don't think that makes him a bad person. And I do believe that this is something that, with the words that he said, our guys will learn from it. And hopefully nobody's ever going to repeat something like this, McVay said then. Yeah, hopefully nobody's going to ever repeat something like this again. Hopefully. Robinson, 30, started all 17 games for the Rams this season and led the team with 7 touchdown receptions. He was 4th in the team with 31 receptions and 505 receiving yards. So there you go. Hopefully, this doesn't affect him as far as in his game plan and what the Rams do. He's a professional. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be okay. But like I said, this is the kind of stuff that you just don't want to see. This is the kind of stuff that doesn't need to happen before your big playoff moment. And unfortunately for someone like Demarcus Robinson, you hate to see it, but hey, try to make better decisions, right? You don't need to be going 100 in California while having alcohol in your system. That's the reality of it. You don't need to do it. You don't need to do it. So we'll leave it at that. Let me hop back into the chat. Tyrone says, my nephew played in the league, and he told me it is a setup for a ride to come get you countrywide. No excuses. Could have took the Uber. Call for the Uber. Call for your friends. Come on now. Get you a DD. Ben says Vegas was worried it was getting too lopsided. We got to put out this little news there. We got to slow them down just a little bit. Go ahead and put out this news. Shout out to you, Ernie. Says, why punish Robinson if the case hasn't been heard? I mean, Casey wanted Rice to play. Shout out to you, Ernie. See, yeah, like I said, we always see these kind of stories pop up. What was it last year for the 49ers? It was the lineman. If I'm not mistaken, it was a lineman. He was involved in a DV case, right? Girlfriend, wife, or something like that. It came out right before the playoffs. It's really, like I said, it's really interesting. Whenever certain teams in the playoffs, we start seeing news come out right before the game. We see it time and time again. So yeah, it's unfortunate. And I know that this situation happened back in November, but they love to bring stuff back up when you're in your moment, when you're about to get in your element. So, be careful. Be careful, guys. Stay focused. Do what you got to do. And, try to keep yourselves out of these situations. It's just the reality of it. Shout out to you guys. Make sure you keep hitting that thumbs up as we progress through the show. We got some more good stuff for you guys. In a moment here, we'll get to Josh Allen staying focused. We'll also get to Jason Whitlock and Cam Newton going at it. I'm actually excited for this one because it's absolutely hilarious. And then we're going to break down the NFC bracket. We touched on it, but now we're going to break it down and really get into it. But let's get to our next story here. Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers, unfortunately, will be out for the Steelers game. Now, how does this play into the Ravens' offensive scheme, and how much will it actually affect Lamar Jackson coming into this game? Let's get into this story here.
Zay Flowers is not going to be able to make it to the game this week, so he'll get started again next week, and we'll move forward with the guys we have, and we're excited about the guys we have, which is everybody else. Okay, what questions you have?
John, in that regard, with Zay being down, do you think it's going to be more of a collective group effort as kind of absorbing the targets, the catches, things like that?
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be an opportunity to, we'll move guys around. Guys will play spots based on the game plan, and the ball will kind of go where it goes based on the way it unfolds in terms of how they play us, and kind of, take what the defense gives you kind of an opportunity. So we've got a lot of weapons, and Lamar will distribute that thing the way he sees fit, play to play.
So, yeah, I mean, very simple, right? Zay's out. Obviously, it's next man up. Tylan Wallace will come in. You still got Bateman. You still got Andrews. You still have so much opportunity as far as what Lamar Jackson's going to be able to work with. So I'm not too worried about, Zay being out. Yes, it would be good if you had him in there. He's speedy. He's crafty. He's got good hands. He's reliable and trusty for Lamar Jackson, but unfortunately he'll be out. So Tylan Wallace is going to have to step up, and I think that Mark Andrews is going to get a little bit more involved due to this fact. But let's go ahead and get into it. It says Lamar Jackson will be without his top target at the start of the postseason. Pro Bowl wide receiver Zay Flowers was ruled out for the Baltimore Ravens wildcard game against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Saturday night. Flowers injured his right knee in Saturday's game regular season finale and did not practice all week. Moments after Ravens coach John Harbaugh made the announcement Thursday that Flowers wouldn't play, the former first-round pick walked through the locker room wearing a brace on his injured knee. We'll move forward with the guys we have, Harbaugh said, and we're excited about the guys we have. This marks the only the second game that Flowers has missed in his 2-year career. The loss of Flowers, who led Baltimore with 74 catches for 1,059 yards receiving, is a significant one for the NFL's #1 offense. The only other Ravens wide receiver who caught more than 15 passes this season is Rashad Bateman, who had 45 receptions for 756 yards, 9 touchdowns. When Baltimore was without Flowers in the second half Saturday, Bateman made 3 catches for 51 yards and a touchdown. So, yeah, like I said, I'm not too worried about as far as Flowers. I think that the Ravens will be okay. Obviously there's going to be some adjustments, and, definitely Lamar Jackson relied on Flowers, but, I think it's going to shift the momentum just a little bit, right? But Harbaugh's a hell of a coach. He's going to, draw up the right game plan, get Derrick Henry going, get Andrews going, get Bateman going, and Lamar Jackson's going to do Lamar Jackson's thing. So, we're not too worried about Zay Flowers. Hopefully he'll be, prepared if the Ravens do move on. But I think for this game, I think, the Ravens should be okay. Let me hop into the chat. Shout out to you, Michelle. Says, wait a minute. The bad decisions are usually driven by stress or celebration and dealing with it. I think it's not the news just coming out, but that more happens. Yeah. But I mean, I just, for me, it's like, okay, I know if I'm going to go out and I'm going to have a good time, if I become inebriated, then let me go ahead and call that Uber, right? Let me go ahead and call, my woman. Let me go ahead and call a family member. Let me call somebody. If I know I can't drive, let me get somebody on the phone, or let me call for a car. And then also, you're going over 100 miles per hour. Right. So I don't think there's really any real excuse that we can come up with to justify that situation in regards to, speeding through California while being intoxicated. So I get it. You may be excited, you may be celebrating, but at the same time, you got to be responsible, because if you're going to drive intoxicated, don't go 100 miles per hour. All right, let's just not do that. Shout out to Mr. Kojak. Says, will he be a superhero for them, Bateman, or not Bateman? Interesting. We'll see. Shout out to Michelle. Says, I agree that you made good decisions. I'm saying that egos in the NFL may not exactly respond the same way you do. It's always a problem, and more stress is the playoffs or the celebration of playoffs. No, I agree. Everyone's going to handle situations different, right? But I do think that common sense comes into play, right? I've been an athlete. Matter of fact, my knee hurts right now because I was playing basketball last night. So I get it, right? Being young, well, not even young. I mean, DeMarcus is 30 now. Being a 30-year-old athlete, right, worth millions of dollars and playing for a professional sports team, I think you've learned a thing or two within your career to understand right from wrong, right? And, of course, what's expected of you, your family, who looks up to you, the kids, your fans. So, I think in the back of your mind, celebrating, having fun, whatever, you keep that information right there. Right there. Like, okay, I know I've been drinking. Let me go ahead and make this phone call. I know I've been drinking. Let me go ahead and, get a car, order a car. And so, like I said, it's from an athlete's point of view, sure, you'll make mistakes, but at 30, I don't think we can excuse it. That's all I'm saying. Ernie Brown says 100 miles an hour is a real concern. Plus, he'd be on the bench without injuries. Exactly. Like I said, if you're going to put yourself in a situation to drive intoxicated, don't drive over 100 miles per hour. Like, that's insane. That's absolutely insane. I'm not going to sit here in front. There's been times where, I was out, had a little bit to drink. I decided to drive home. Had to throw in the cruise control, I was going 35. Listen, I did it. I ain't gonna sit here in front with y'all. Yeah, I've had my situation, so I know, I get it. But I wasn't going 100 miles per hour. I had the cruise control at 35, which is the speed limit. I'm sweating in the car, praying I get home without getting pulled over. But I made it, and I didn't put nobody else at risk. So, like I said, we all make our mistakes, but you grow up, and then you start making better decisions and better choices, and you keep yourself out of harm's way, and other people as well. That's the point. That's the point. You learn from your bad decisions. Mark says, give a 20-something-year-old too much money and see the kind of decisions he make. Yeah. 20, sure. We 20, you I think you got some mistakes to make. But 30? Nah. You've learned and you've went through some things, and at this point in your life, you should know how to act. By 30, you should know how to act. So shout out to you, Michelle. This is right. Amen to all the good decisions. I just hope he and they can handle the pressure for years to come, without a doubt. We know that players get more scrutinized than the average person would, right? Because they're in the spotlight. They got a lot going for themselves. But at the same time, I feel like they have to be cognizant of that fact themselves, right? You've watched other individuals go through the problems and issues before you even got to the league. You've seen this happen time and time again. So either you weren't paying attention and watching those people to become better and be greater than their mistakes, or you watch what they did and you just didn't give a damn, and you're like, well, I'm just going to live my life the way I want to live it, right? So you're either going to learn from bad choices and bad decisions, or you're going to keep making them because you don't care about other people and how they would feel about your life. That's just the reality of it. Shout out to you, Dan. What's going on with you, bro? Good morning. Good morning. Mr. Kojak says, I like a good 40 or if it's deserted, though, no booze, though. You guys are hilarious. All right, let's keep it going. Nathan says, drinking and going above the speed limit is bad, but to do that when your team is in the playoffs is wild. Well, unfortunately, like I said, this situation happened back in November. No, it was November 25th. So, it was Thanksgiving times, right? Holidays, like I said, the real issue, I get it, right? You were driving intoxicated right around Thanksgiving time. But it's the 100 miles per hour that you start to look at it like, okay, now you just acting a fool. You acting a fool. But like I said, we're going to wish Demarcus Robinson the best. Hope that he learns from this experience and moves on. And then, hopefully it doesn't affect his game moving forward in the playoffs with the Vikings. So there you go. All right, here we go. Next story. Ladies and gentlemen. Notre Dame. What a game that was last night. Riley Leonard, this whole squad just looked absolutely different from what we had seen. And it was, without a doubt to me, a heart situation, right? It was the heart to go out there and get a victory, the heart to go out there and get the stops, the heart to move that ball. And Riley Leonard put his body in the line, found a way to make the plays and lead this team to a victory, moving on to the championship, which I will be streaming. So make sure you're here for that. I'm excited about this team. They look good. And I do think whoever they go against between the Longhorns and the Buckeyes, it's going to be a show either way. I will be streaming that game tonight. So make sure you guys are here for that. But let's get into this one. College football playoff semifinal takeaways and analysis. Half of the finale of the first 12-team college football playoff is set following a frantic final 10 minutes in Miami. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish advanced to the title game with a 27-24 win over the Penn State Nittany Lions on Friday night. We'll find out the Fighting Irish, a banged-up team of destiny, will face. Will it be the Texas Longhorns, team that, like Notre Dame, keeps finding a way late? Or will it be Ohio State Buckeyes, by the far the best team of the playoffs' first two rounds? Here are the takeaways from the epic first semifinale. I'm going to just tell y'all right now. I think it's going to be the Buckeyes. I'm just saying, they look good. They look really good, and I get it. When you got a team that got heart and they're fighting and, they show everything. They put everything out on the field. But Ohio State just got both sides. So we'll obviously see what's going on later. I will be streaming that game, so make sure you're here for it as we continue on. Says Mitch Jeter's 41-yard field goal with 7 seconds left, which seemed to change directions about 3 times. It definitely did. It looked kind of crazy going in. Handed Notre Dame a 3-point win after the classic final 10 minutes. The 3 factors that won the Fighting Irish the game: the middle 8, third downs, and 1 horrid pass. Let's walk through them. The middle 8 and drives that start in the last 4 minutes of the second quarter and the first 4 minutes of the third. Notre Dame's point differential was plus minus 93 through 14 games. The Fighting Irish might have been the best middle 8 team in the country, and they're the national title game because of it. First, they scored 17 points in under 60 seconds on both sides of halftime in the 23-10 win over Georgia. Then, after a mostly dreadful first 28 minutes in Miami, they managed the clock perfectly, driving for a field goal at the halftime buzzer. Despite starting quarterback Riley Leonard briefly coming out of the game and then roaring down the field for a touchdown drive to start the second half, they scored 10 points without Penn State's offense touching the ball, and it made a massive difference in an eventual 3-point win. Without a doubt, you could kind of see the momentum change, right? Right after halftime, you started to see the momentum change. And so, they were tied up for a little while, and they kind of went back and forth, and I was like, well, something's going to break. Something's going to break. And that's obviously when Love started going. Riley started getting the pass going. There was that huge pass that was about 20 yards. That definitely was a momentum swinger. And so I think at that point, that's when the Fighting Irish really started to get it together in that second half. As we keep it going, says third downs. There were 28 third downs Thursday night. Notre Dame went 11 for 17, and Penn State went 3 for 11. Third downs were huge. Meaning the Fighting Irish won 19 of 28 overall, 68%. Penn State managed a couple of huge fourth down conversions, but even if you count those as Nittany Lions wins, Notre Dame was over 60% among the Fighting Irish. Conversions were 4 Leonard rushes for 25 yards. He was running his ass off. He was making it happen. 2 Mitchell Evans receptions for 37 yards and 2 Jaden Greathouse receptions for 16 yards. Among Penn State's failed third down attempts were a particularly cost drop pass in the end zone by Nicholas Singleton on an admittedly poor pass from Drew Allar, a huge sack by Rod Hurd II, and a no-gain scramble by Allar. Penn State probably won a majority of the other plays in the game, but Notre Dame won the most important ones. And so we talk about that a lot, right? You don't have to be perfect. Just do enough. And that's what Notre Dame did, right? They definitely weren't perfect. They had their issues. They had their problems. Leonard definitely had to put this team on his shoulders, right? Running for those first downs, running for those big gains. And, it comes down to a field goal for the win. So, congratulations to the Fighting Irish. They obviously will move on against whoever wins tonight against the Longhorns and the Buckeyes. I'm excited for the one. Excited for that one. Like I said, we will be streaming it, so make sure you're here for it. College football, always exciting, always fun. The fans were going crazy last night, back and forth. Penn State, Notre Dame, they were definitely going crazy for sure. It was fun to see. On a side note, I was playing basketball last night, so I was getting kind of the highlights, and I check out the game, and then when I got home, I was able to check out the full second half. I was playing basketball last night, and my left knee has started to get a little weird on me. And I'm telling you this, guys, because I was once an avid basketball player. And I was out there every day, right? And so now that the years have passed, I play recreationally, right? I want to stay in shape. I want to keep the cardio going. So I'll get out there, play, 4 or 5 pickup games. We're out there for like 2 hours at some points. And so my left knee has given way. And it's really sad last night because I sat there and I said, well, is it time that I have to hang up my jersey from the recreational basketball? And it got me thinking. As far as, how age and as your body matures, how things start to change. I got, I'm good with the calcium. I stretch, I work out, I do all that good stuff. But getting older is one of those things where you have to start sacrificing the things that you love and how you do it. I jump pretty high. I can't do it no more. I can't do it no more. I came down on these knees last night, and when it was over, I knew that for me it was over. I wouldn't be able to jump how I used to. And it's bittersweet, right? It's bittersweet because as you get older, you realize you can't do the stuff that you used to. But as I was in the air, I was like, "Oh, I still got it." Yeah, like, and then when I came down, it was like, "Nope, it's over." And so I woke up this morning, I couldn't walk. I woke up this morning and I couldn't walk, y'all. No kidding. I couldn't walk. I had my slippers next to the bed. I almost tripped on them. It would have been the end of me. I promise you, I would have needed a life alert to get up. That's how bad it hurt. Fortunately, I was able to, retain my balance and stay up. But yeah. So I got to rehab my knee. But as far as, jumping and all that stuff and, going up real high for the rebounds, now can't do it. Can't do it. So times change. I'm just venting right now to you guys because, I needed to tell somebody. I didn't tell nobody, but I trust you guys and I feel open with you guys. I didn't really bring it up to too many people, but yeah, I feel like at this point, I'm learning the changes are coming. Changes are coming. Shout out to you, Michelle. Says, keep going, Jay. The youngest at the nursing home or the oldest at the gym. You can modify, just don't give up. Yeah, like I said, I'm not shout out to you, Michelle. I appreciate you. Thank you. Like I said, I'm not done. I just have to adjust how I play. I can't play like how I used to. I can't play like how I did 20 years ago, how I did 10 years ago, right? And so now I have to modify my game to of what an individual at my age now would do it. And that, comes down to conditioning and all that kind of stuff and, stretching and rehabbing certain things. And I think that's where I bring this up because, there's a lot of people who get injured, right? And they think that, well, I just have to completely stop. And it's like, no, you don't have to completely stop. It's just that you have to change things around. You have to modify the way that you do things. I love running. I love playing basketball. And so unfortunately, I can still do it, but unfortunately I can't still play the way that I used to 20 years ago. And so, the old saying goes, if you try to do too much, you'll find out how age has caught up with you. That's what I learned last night. That's all. Shout out to you, Dan. Says I have my doubts double fold on the Texas Longhorns. I agree. Tyrone says work on the 3-pointer and don't go to the basket. Listen, that's pretty much where it is now. That's where it is now. I definitely, had a great take on the inside, went in for the layup real high, like hand above the basket high. And coming down, that's when it was like, you can't do this no more. So work on your shot. Pass, get out there and run a little bit. But as far as jumping that high, that is completely out the picture, because it kind of caught. It was funny is before we move on to the next story, it kind of caught me off guard because I hadn't jumped that high in a long time. And so, like I said, my hand is over the rim. It's over the rim for a layup. And so you would have thought I was about to dunk it. And I was like, oh. And when I came down, it was so far from what I expected that I think I kind of like tensed up. And then that's when I realized that my knees couldn't do it no more. So shout out to you, Michelle. Gravity does suck. Well, it's just the name of the game, unfortunately. All right, March Madness. Yeah, we'll be getting to March Madness, without a doubt. Without a doubt, I'm excited for March Madness. You know how we do. We always have a good time during March Madness. But let's get to the next story. So this is an interesting one, for sure. This is an interesting one. Jason Whitlock and Cam Newton have been going at it. And if you guys were here for the Joy Taylor story, you know that there's a lot of controversy surrounding her. There's a lot of conversations going on right now with people involved with Fox Sports and FS1. And everyone's basically, getting on the bandwagon. Now, there's been conversations about people who were previously on that show, had history with that show and history around, Skip Bayless and all these individuals. But now Cam Newton has gotten to the mix, right? Jason Whitlock has said some things that have been really outlandish. Whether you like the guy or not, he's been, saying some interesting things. So let's go in and get into this one. Let's break it down and let's mine it out.
Here's Cam Newton yesterday talking about me and going off how I'm not that guy. Play the clip.
Hey, Jason Whitlock. Hey, my guy. No, you're not my guy. Guy, come here. You're not that guy, pal. You're not. That big rack of hers, that's inappropriate. That butter skin, that's inappropriate. Like, bro, you're not that guy. So to comment on something like this, bro, stay in your lane. Whether Joy did what she did, the accusations are true or not, stay in your lane, Jason. All right? Because, bro, like, you're having an outer body experience, and it's time for me to put you back in your body to let you know, bro, you're not that guy, pal.
Yeah.
So let me stop it here for a minute. Cam Newton is funny. He's very funny because he's kind of like put himself in this situation when he had nothing to do with it at all. The reality is Jason Whitlock was definitely around Joy Taylor and worked with her. So if anybody would have some kind of story or some kind of insight in regards to what happened potentially or being around this individual and how it was perceived at the time, it would be him. So, Cam Newton saying that Jason Whitlock isn't that guy is kind of stupid to me because he doesn't know. Cam, you weren't there to even know what was really going on or how Whitlock would have approached the situation with Joy Taylor. So, and it's sad because Cam Newton, being an athlete and now having a podcast, has started to put himself into these kind of situations where he doesn't know anything about it. Well, let's keep it going.
Whether you want to speak on your 2 cents or not, keep it. Please do. Because, nah, it ain't that. Joy, is she a very attractive woman? Absolutely. And it's not for me to make inappropriate statements, Jason, by saying that rack. Like, bro, come on, bro. Like, all right, let's put it like this, since we want to get personal. Like, who you who you sleeping with?
What she look like?
It's like bring her to the forefront, him to the forefront, because now you got to be open in these things.
He's got to be, huh?
You know what I'm saying? And it ain't no shade, but I'm just keeping it a bug.
Yeah.
This is a person who's, bro, like been a villain in the industry for years. So I'm like, bro, we want to see her. Yeah.
So now, now we're veering off. Right now we're veering off. We're saying, well, who you with? Let's bring them to the forefront so that we could judge them because, you're saying that you wouldn't have dealt with Joy Taylor because of how you felt and how you wanted to stay away from her because of, what she was giving off. I think Cam's a clown. I'm going to just say it right here, right now. I think Cam's a clown. I think that he does have some good takes in regards to, certain things when it comes to sports specifically. But when it comes to this, it's like, all right, you put yourself in the bandwagon with Jason Whitlock because you didn't like what he said. But at the same time, now you're saying, well, let's see what your woman looked like to judge her because you decided to say what you wouldn't have done when it came to Joy Taylor. Let's keep it going, though. Let's get into what Whitlock had to say.
The first thing Cam Newton has to do for me to fully understand this, who's that guy? What are we talking about here? Define that guy for me, Cam. And I say this in all seriousness. I would love to have this conversation with you on what makes someone that guy. And then ask yourself, do I want to be? Does Jason Whitlock want to be that guy? Because, maybe this is just a misunderstanding
y'all see
about what that guy
meme in the back?
and whether or not I want to be it. Here's who
Cam's
I
in a
want
Superman
to be,
costume.
Cam. I want to be a Christian who provides biblical wisdom to young people and older people who reject, deny, don't fully understand, don't comprehend the wisdom that's spelled out in the Bible. That's the guy I'm trying to be. And so, to the best of my ability, that's who I am. That's the guy that I want to be. I think Cam is insinuating that I'm not that guy because, in his view, you ain't that guy. You're not knocking off these 304s in television and on.
And so let me stop it here for a second, because I do think this is very important. Like I said, even if you don't like Jason Whitlock, there's a lot of realness in his message. There's a lot of truth in his message. He can sometimes be a little harsh, right? His show's called Fearless. He can sometimes be a little harsh, maybe over the top, not as PC as people may want him to be. But, he keeps it real. And so for the most part, when you look at what Cam is trying to say, is Cam's trying to be like, well, you ain't that guy. You can't pull these kind of women. You can't pull these kind of women. You can't be with these kind of women. So you would have never turned down Joy Taylor. You would have never turned her down because you could never get these kind of women. Let me explain something to you. Whether you're in the sports industry, whether you're in the entertainment industry, or whether you're not in any kind of industry where your face is in the limelight, money affects people. Money influences people. And so we know this isn't a new story. We know that if people have money, it can influence certain individuals and influence certain kind of outcomes, right? And so Joy Taylor has came out and basically said that people change and their decisions and morals can go out the window depending on the kind of bag that a person has, meaning depending on the kind of money a person. Joy Taylor came out and said this. So, to me, that basically states that, hey, if the right money's involved, my morals will go out the window. Now, that's in quote. Nobody's making that up. She said that herself. And so, for Cam to say that someone like Jason Whitlock, wouldn't deal with some kind of individual or couldn't get these individuals, once again, I think it proves that, Cam's a clown because he doesn't understand that, it doesn't really matter how you look. We can bring up people like Bill Cosby. We can bring up people like Harvey Weinstein. We could bring up people like them that are not attractive at all. But guess what? They had a lot of women around them for certain reasons. And so at the end of the day, when we digest stuff like this, Cam, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Maybe you're too far gone, in the spotlight as an athlete to realize what the real world is about outside of the shadows. But let's keep it going.
Instagram, you're not that guy. You can't talk about these women that are sleeping their way to the top because you're not that guy. You're not betting those women. And what I would say, Cam, is you're right. I'm not that guy. I don't want to be that guy. I'm trying to be a guy that reaches people like Cam Newton and say, being that guy is an actual mistake. And to not to a full degree, but to a lesser, I've been that idiot guy. Cam, you had a father that was a minister or is a minister. Get off that damn podcast and just go talk to your dad. And y'all open up a Bible and then ask yourself, are the things you're promoting, are they in alignment with what's in this book? Maybe you don't care about that book.
Wait a minute, y'all. Oh my goodness. See, this is wild. This is wild. What a clap back. Cam, your father's a minister. Are you promoting the things that your father is about, that you probably been raised under, that he's calling you out on now? Or are you promoting that? Jason Whitlock may have came with the clapback of the year, y'all. The clapback of the year. Talk about flawless victory. This is crazy. Drop it in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about this. Like I said, I think Cam is a clown. I think he put himself into a situation that he shouldn't have put himself into. I think he exposed himself to definitely get clowned by a seasoned veteran like Jason Whitlock. This guy's been in the industry for decades, right? So to, I think, play on his name and you know, add yourself to the conversation, you did yourself a disservice. So there it is. Let me hop into the chat. Mark says, I like him more now than before I saw the clip. Like I said, there's people who don't like Jason Whitlock because he's very direct. He's very blunt. He says a lot of raw things. And so on the flip side, you know, if you can kind of maneuver through a lot of the hard stuff that, you know, you may not be able to accept or that you don't like, there is a message there, right? And so just like here with they got Captain Save a Joy Cam. You know, Cam came in Joy's defense, and who knows? I don't know. Maybe Cam, you know, was rocking with someone that looks like her, so he felt he had to go save her. I don't know. Me personally, looking at this, it's really a shame because, you know, we watched the Emmanuel Achos, we watched Skip Bayless, we watched Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp. I've watched FS1 and I've seen the takes from Joy, and I said, all right, cool. And then if someone was like, but at the same time, we've watched these people for hours and hours, just like you guys watched me for hours and hours. And so, you know, when we have the conversation of someone like Joy being involved with a lawsuit in regards to, hey, someone potentially slept to the top, you know, there's going to be a lot of noise that comes from that. There's going to be a lot of people talking. But I think Cam Newton put himself under under scope, and unfortunately, he was hit from like a mile out by Jason Whitlock. So there you go. There you go. Shout out to you, Shante. Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you. Good to see you. Ben says Cam is doing what Cam has always done and always has been. Haven't learned nothing. It's wild. Someone get the cry towel for Cam. It's hilarious. Dan says, hey Jay, we love you for many hours of watching. Without a doubt, man. I love you guys too. It's always great. It's always a fun time, and we gonna keep it going. We're gonna keep it going. So next up, I wanted to get into this one. Josh Allen. We're not done. We're not done, y'all. Josh Allen. I wanted to get into Allen because we're coming into one of the most significant seasons for the Bills, right? They were kind of written off at the beginning of the season. Nobody really knew as far as how this team would develop and grow, as far as, you know, under a new scheme, under new personnel, under a new wide receiver group. And so moving forward, now is the time that we dig into, is Josh Allen ready? Is Josh Allen going to rise to the occasion? Or are we going to see exactly what we've seen over the past few years when it comes to the postseason? So let's get into this and start breaking it down. Obviously, getting into the postseason, Allen, 2019, one game played. He was 24 of 46, 52% completion percentage, 264 yards. He averaged 5.7, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked 3 times. He had a QBR 42.5. Getting into 2020, 3 games played, 77 on the attempts, 120 on the attempts, 77 on the completions, 64.2% on the completion rate, 817 yards, 6.8 average, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. He was sacked 8 times. QBR was 61.7. 5 touchdowns, y'all. Then getting into 2021, right? 2 games played, 48 on the completions, 62 on the attempts, 77.4% completion percentage, 637 yards. He averaged 10.3, 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, was sacked only twice. And this is obviously when it came down to, the AFC Championship, loss to the Chiefs. A lot to learn there, right? A lot of issues and problems, but we don't put that on Allen. We put that on the defense and Sean McDermott leaving 13 seconds on the board. So, you don't put that on Allen, but then moving on, right? 2022, 48 of 81, 59.3% of the completion percentage, 616 yards, average was 7.6, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, was sacked 8 times, had a QBR of 40.5. Then getting into, obviously, last year, 47 of 69, 6.8 completion percentage, 389 yards, 5.6 on the average, 4 touchdowns, 0 picks, was sacked twice, but had a QBR of 80. So what do we expect to see under Joe Brady, right? Under Joe Brady, we've seen them basically tame the wild horse, right? Not as many interceptions, not as many mistakes, being careful with the ball, being meticulous as far as, your decision-making out there, not making risky plays. And if you are, you have a clear and cut understanding as far as what it takes to make that play before you do it. This is, the split-second decision-making that Allen has came into and I think has become better for it. Now, we're not seeing all the passing yards, right? We're not seeing all the crazy deep passes that we've normally seen out of Allen because Joe Brady has kind of, made the field smaller for him so that it could work out better for the offense. And so at first I didn't agree with it. At first I didn't like it. I said, well, we don't have a deep threat, right? The Bills don't have a deep threat. So who is going to be able to catch the deep ball? Who's going to have the speed to get down there? And who's going to have the hands to deal with Allen's accuracy when it comes to the deep ball? So unfortunately, we still haven't seen that, but I don't think we've had to because, hey, you've got people like Shakir who can make a play and get down the field. You got people like Cooper who can, make a play and get down the field. You've got Samuel now who can, catch the ball and try to make a play and get further down the field. So, Allen doesn't have to force the pass as much when it comes to the deep ball. So I do think that's a good thing moving forward. Then obviously getting into the rushing, right? We know that rushing is a big part of Allen's game. And I basically said at the beginning of the season how I didn't like there were certain scenarios where the Bills were going, 3 and out because Allen couldn't improvise on a third down and just take off. Well, that was a part of Joe Brady's doing. But then they switched it. Towards the end of the season, we started seeing Josh Allen get out of that pocket, start improvising more. Okay, it's 3rd and 6. I can run for it. I can go get it. And so I think that was kind of, hey, we're going to protect Josh Allen, make sure that, he's not out there to get injured, make sure that he's not, taking too many hits. And so I think coming into the postseason, now you're really going to start to see that improvising coming in. Now you're really going to start to see him show up as far as, okay, it's not there. Let me make this play without having any risk. And so I do expect to see a little bit more running out of Allen, obviously in tandem with Cook. More use of the RPO. I'd like to see that. I want to see Keon Coleman in a slot, right? And I know some people say, well, that's kind of weird. Why would you want to have that? We could use Shakir there. I want to see Keon Coleman on some of these short passes, right? Because you put him on a short play, let him catch the ball. You know that he really can't create much distance, but I do think that's going to help build the confidence for him early on. You get him in on the short passes. You work that out with Coleman. Build some confidence for him early on in the playoffs because this is his first playoff game. If he's going to be heavily involved, you make sure that you get him started early. Obviously, then you got Dalton Kincaid coming in. He's going to be ever so reliable. I do expect good things for Khalil Shakir. I do expect good things for Cooper. He is now back. A lot of people said he was a question mark. He's now back after the situation with his family, so he's good to go. And then, obviously Ray Davis being in the backfield with Cook, I think that those two are going to be in tandem of each other. And then we got Johnson as well. So as far as, the Bills offense, I'm not too worried about that. What I am is the defense, but not the line, more so, the safety position, because at this point, we know that Bo Nix loves to throw that rock. Like I said, he reminds me of a baby Josh Allen. Loves to throw that rock down the field. And I feel like, in a sense, he's kind of in that same situation that Allen's in. But the difference is Bo Nix is more accurate. That's the difference. Bo Nix is more accurate. He doesn't throw the picks that Josh Allen did. And so you're going to have people back there that's actually playing some good defense. We're looking at you, Hamlin, to, rally the troops. Have these guys ready to go out there and, play solid football. Don't get beat on those routes. Don't, get cooked on the 50-50 ball. Make some good decisions. Make some good plays, because I do think that that's going to be a huge factor coming into this game with the Broncos. Now, on the flip side, you have a defense for the Broncos that gets sacks. They get to the quarterback. They're great at it. And then you're going against a team that doesn't really allow sacks. So you've got yourself a stalemate. Who's going to win that one? I think this Bills line has been great so far. I think they'll give Allen enough time to make decisions. But also at the same time, if you do break through, are you capable of bringing down Josh Allen? He's shifty, he's big, he's fast. Can you bring him down? So I do think at that point, if you decide to play that game, you're going to leave somebody down the field. Sean Payton's definitely preparing for this. I know that he is. But I do think, if the Broncos are thinking, hey, we're just going to get to Josh Allen, you're going to be in for a rude awakening, because the ball's going to be passed down the field 30 to 40 yards, without a doubt. Shout out to you, Darth. What's going on with you, bro? Tyrone says too many drops on third down for Kincaid. I agree. And I think the question for me is Kincaid used to the ball that Josh Allen throws at this point, right? Because that's an issue, but we know that Josh Allen throws rockets. So it is, I want to say, an adjustment for Dalton Kincaid to really be effective and efficient as far as, reeling in that ball. Yes, this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to catch the ball. You're supposed to make a play. But I think people kind of forget that Josh Allen has a lot of power behind those throws, and so it can be hard to hang on. It can be hard to complete that catch. But that's something that he's going to have to fix, and fast, going into this weekend's wild cards. So there you go. Like I said, my big thing is Allen being focused. I think that he will. I'm excited to see what he's going to do against this Broncos defense. I'm also excited to see what Bo Nix is going to do against the Bills defense as well. I think it's going to be a good one. If I have to say what my expectations are, I expect a shootout before the momentum is made, right? Bills sometimes start off a little slow and then get it together. I don't think you want to see that. I think you want to see a situation where the Bills come out strong. They kind of, deflate the confidence of the Broncos and don't give them any light. Because if you do give them a lot of light, then you're going to, run into a shootout. I think that's the reality of it. Darv says, from what I understand, Allen tries to hold back on most of his passes too, because he knows he can make them uncatchable if he puts too much on them. He puts a lot on those passes. Without a doubt, he's one of the hardest throwers in the game right now. 100%. So there you go. Last but not least, y'all. As promised, we would get to these wild card NFC playoffs. Let's break it down. All right. So Vikings, Rams. We've seen what happened with the Vikings. A lot of people were mad and upset with me because I said that Darnold did not play his best game against the Lions. Where was the lie? Where was I wrong in saying that? Are you upset because I put it more on Darnold and less on the Lions having a stellar defense? Or are you mad just specifically because I was right and you didn't want me to be? I think that's the question that you guys should answer down in the comments. But the Vikings record's 14-3. The Rams are 10-7. Getting into the spread, it's the Vikings by 3 on the road. The over-under is 47.5. It's minus 150 on the money line for the Vikings and plus 130 on the money line for the Rams. As far as the matchup predictor, 53.9% for the Vikings, 46.1% for the Rams. As far as your passing yards, Sam Darnold, 361 of 545, 4,319 yards of 35 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. Matt Stafford, 340 of 517, 3,762 yards, 20 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. On the rushing side of things, Jones, 255 carries, 1,138 yards, 5 touchdowns. And then Williams with 316 carries, 1,299 yards, 14 touchdowns. As far as the receiving side of things, Jefferson, 103 receptions, 1,533 yards. And Puka Nacua, 79 receptions on 990 yards and 3 touchdowns. As far as the current injury report, you've got Taki Tamani on IR, Pat Jones, questionable, Aaron Jones, questionable, McCarthy on IR, and Christian Darrisaw IR. For the Rams, you've got Rob Havenstein, Blake Corum, Nick Hampton, KT Leviston, and Troy Reader on IR. Getting into the last 5 for both. As far as the Vikings, they had the loss to the Lions, 31-9. They beat Green Bay in a close one, 27-25. They beat the Seahawks in a close one, 27-24. They beat the Bears 30-12, and they beat Atlanta 42-21. The Rams, they lost to the Seahawks 30-25 at the end of the season. They beat Arizona 13-9. They beat the Jets 19-9. They beat San Francisco 12-6, and then they beat the Bills 44-42. So yeah, I do think that this is a little bit more even, right? But the big problem for me is, has Sam Darnold really dug into why he lost against the Lions? Because it's very simple to watch what happened. It's very simple to see, okay, if you completely shut out Justin Jefferson, Sam Darnold doesn't know where to throw the ball. He has an issue with moving the ball. And so I look at that and I say, okay, well, the Rams defense has that capability as well. I'm not saying that they're going to be able to completely stop him like the Lions did, but they're going to have very good success when it comes to Jefferson, right? You've got the playbook from the Lions on how to deal with this problem. And we see the kind of situation that leads Sam Darnold to become, right? He gets frazzled. He has the deer in the headlights look. And it's really unfortunate because I don't think we really expected that. I think we expected the Vikings to still be dominant. And so, it looked kind of different with the Lions. They didn't look as dominant. They definitely looked weak and exposed. And so coming into this one, I could see where, you have a different offensive scheme. You're utilizing, Hockenson a little bit more to kind of draw the attention away from Jefferson and then to get him going down the road. But I do think that's, a big question. Maybe there's too much reliance on Jefferson. And there needs to be more chemistry on the others in the wide receiver group. So with that said, I'm going to go against the grain here. I think as good as the Vikings have had a season, I'm not sure how that's going to translate to the postseason. Matt Stafford having, a ring under his belt, playoff experience. I think the Rams are going to take it at home. I'll take it by a field goal. Texas, Ohio State. Yeah, I'll be doing that tonight. Without a doubt. Shout out to you, Chris TV. The grind don't stop. Without a doubt. Says the Bills cannot afford to take the playoffs light whatsoever, without a doubt. You can't, right? Don't look forward to the Ravens. Don't look forward to Kansas City. Take each game for what it is. Focus on the Broncos. That's where you start. 100%. All right, next up, we got these Buccaneers and the Commanders. Now, this is going to be a wild one for sure. Commanders are 12-5, Buccaneers 10-7. Getting into the spread, Buccaneers favored at home by 3. The over/under is 50, so they're expecting a high-scoring game. The money line is plus 140 for the Commanders, minus 165 for the Buccaneers. On the matchup predictor, 41.7% for the Commanders, 58.3% for the Buccaneers. As far as your season leaders, Jaden Daniels, 331 of 480, 3,568 yards, 25 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Baker Mayfield, 407 of 570, 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. On the rushing side of things, Daniels with 148 carries, 891 yards, 6 touchdowns. Bucky Irving, 207 carries, 1,122 yards, 8 touchdowns. And then the receiving side of things, you've got McLaurin with 1,096 yards, 13 touchdowns, and Mike Evans with 1,004, 11 touchdowns on 74 receptions. As far as the injury report, you've got Frankie Lavu, questionable, John Bates questionable, Jamison Crowder questionable, Koyson Yankoff on IR, and Haggai, I'm not going to butcher it. You see it. He's out. Buccaneers, you've got William Golston, Sterling Shepard, Mike Edwards, Jamel Dean, and Tristan Wirfs, all questionable, but we know this is going to change come game time. Last 5 for the Commanders, right? They won against the Cowboys 23-19. They beat Atlanta 30-24 in overtime. They beat the Eagles 36-33. They beat the Saints 20-19, and they beat the Titans 42-19. The Buccaneers last 5, they beat the Saints 27-19. They beat the Panthers 48-14. They lost to Dallas 26-24, 2-point game. They beat the Chargers 40-17, and they beat the Raiders 28-13. So with this one, for me, it's very simple. It comes down to who has more heart. Is it going to be Daniels out there with the amazing deep threat, and then of course, with the run dual threat situation? Or is it going to be Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans willing this Buccaneers team to another victory? At home, I know the Buccaneers are very good. The problem is, on the flip side, you've got a quarterback that I think the defense is going to have trouble with. And so for me, as much as I think it's going to be a close one, I do think that the Commanders will surprise in this one. And that's not to say that, Baker Mayfield isn't good, because he's been doing a hell of a job. I just think it's going to come down to who wants it more. And when I look at a talented quarterback as Jaden Daniels being in this situation, be it its first playoffs, I think there's a little bit more of an edge there, a little bit more hunger for it coming into this one. So I do think it's going to be a good game, but I'm going to have to go Commanders on this one. I'll take them by 7. Philip says, did they move the Vikings-Rams game? It was conversations. I'm not sure if it was actually done. There were conversations for it, but I'm not sure if it's actually done. Ernie Brown says, do you think the Browns regret that Baker decision? Yeah, I do. I think the Browns are looking at it like we didn't have the best team for him. What could we have done to make this team better for Baker Mayfield, opposed to thinking that we need to get rid of Baker Mayfield to make the team better? I think that's what's going on right now. For sure. Dar says, I agree. From the Bills playing them, the Rams looked a lot like the Lions, so I don't think the Vikings will be able to push them around. 100%. Listen, we'll be here for it. You guys know I'll be streaming all the games. Starts tonight with Texas and Ohio, but I'll be streaming all the playoff games, so it's going to be fun for sure. So yeah, I'm going Commanders by 7. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and then we'll go from there. So next after that, Eagles and these Packers. Packers and these Eagles. What do you expect from Jordan Love, and what do you expect from Jalen Hurts is the question. Jalen Hurts obviously coming off a concussion, but he is fine. He should be ready to go come playoffs. Jordan Love and this young Green Bay team looking to continue to make a name for themselves, and Jordan Love looking to make a staple on his legacy, showing the league that he is now, the Green Bay Packers fan favorite. All right, let's get into this one. As far as the odds, you've got the Eagles favored at home by 5. The over-under is 45.5, plus 210 on the money line for the Packers, minus 250 on the money line for the Eagles. The matchup predictor, 48.8% for the Packers, 51.2% for the Eagles. Getting into the season leaders, Jordan Love, 268 of 425, 3,389 yards, 25 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Jalen Hurts, 248 of 361, 2,903 yards, 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. On the rushing side of things, Jacobs, 301 carries, 1,329 yards, 15 touchdowns. Barkley with 345 carries, 2,005 yards, 13 touchdowns. And then receiving side of things, you got Reed with 55 receptions for 857 yards, and then Brown for 67 receptions of 1,779 yards. So yeah, injury report. Javon Bullard, Edgerrin Cooper, TJ Slayton, Marshawn Lloyd, and Britton Cox are all questionable on IR. For the Eagles, you got Jack Driscoll, Kenny Pickett, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Will Shipley, all questionable, but this will all change. This will all change. And then next after that, the last 5 for the Packers. You've got the loss against the Bears, loss to Minnesota, 2-point game. You got the win against the Saints, 34-0. Win against Seattle, 30-13. And you lost to Detroit in a close one, 34-31. It's a 3-point game. Getting into the Eagles, right? You got a win against the Giants, 28-13. Win against the Cowboys, 41-7. Lost to the Commanders in a close one, another 3-point game, 36-33. You beat Pittsburgh, 27-13. You beat Carolina, 22-16. So I think this, once again, is one of those games where it's going to be a close one. Your X factor, right? Your X factor is this guy right here. My fault. This guy right here. I can't highlight it for some reason. Can I highlight it? No, I can't highlight it. Saquon Barkley. Let me just say it. Saquon Barkley is going to be the X factor. Because we know that Jalen Hurts is obviously coming off the concussion situation, so they're probably not going to try to expose him to much bodily harm, right? So Saquon Barkley is going to be your workhorse. Green Bay should be looking at this like, hey, if we can stop Saquon Barkley, we have a solid chance, because now you're going to force Jalen Hurts to sit in that pocket, and he's going to have to figure out how to throw this ball and who to throw it to, and he's not going to want to get hit. So you bring that pressure, you stop Saquon Barkley, I think you have a good opportunity to potentially win this game. Now, on the flip side, Jordan Love is kind of in the same situation, right? If the Eagles can bring that pressure to Jordan Love, he's kind of like the bread and butter, right? They love to move the ball. They love to pass the ball. Jacobs will be running, but they're not really as effective in the run game as the Eagles, so they're definitely going to have to rely on that pass. For the Eagles is, if you stop the pass, you stop the Packers. For the Packers, if you stop the run, you stop the Eagles. And so I think this is a little bit more even than obviously what Vegas is portraying with these odds here. But I have to give the Eagles the benefit of the doubt, right? You've got a lot of weapons there. A.J. Brown, you've got a lot of good things going for you, and Saquon Barkley as well. He's riding a high horse. He's got a lot to prove. Not to say it ain't going to be a good one, because I do think it will be a good one, but I'm going to give the edge here to the Eagles. I will take them by a touchdown at home. I think that's totally appropriate, and I think that's acceptable. So there you go. There you go. Let me hop back into the chat before we wrap things up here. It says Broncos make me nervous. Don't be nervous. You'll be fine, bro. You'll be fine. Do you think the Browns were okay? Went through that already. Says you're keeping it real. I agree. We'll leave it at this. Ben says Browns or Broncos. Broncos is making him nervous. I don't think you should be nervous. I think you look at this game as the Bills have a job to do. The Broncos have a job to do. And best man wins. Here's what I like to do. And here's what makes me who I am. I love these kind of scenarios where the pressure is so high and the emotions are at an all-time level and people are scared and nervous. I thrive under pressure. I love it. That's why when we do these big games and there's like 15,000 people in the stream, 20,000 people in the stream, I don't fret. I don't get nervous. I'm having a good time. If you go into this game with expectations, that's what creates the fear. That's what creates you being nervous. If you go into this game with no expectations and the plan of just enjoying it for what it is, whatever outcome, you're going to be fine with it because you enjoyed the game for what it is and you respect both sides. And so at the end of the day, that's why I'm not worried. What's going to happen is what's going to happen, and what's going to happen is what is meant to happen. So don't have fear. Don't be nervous. Enjoy the game for what it is, and may the best team win. Even though it's going to be the Bills. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Have yourself a great morning. I appreciate you all. Much love to the Wrench Gang. Much love to the family. Have yourself a great Friday. I'll see you all later for the Texas and Ohio game. So make sure you subscribe for that. If you have not, click that bell, turn on your notifications so you don't miss a stream, and have yourself a great day. Peace out, y'all.